James Blake is a legendary tennis player, and in 2015 he had a run-in with police um, that he wants to talk about. And it's pretty amazing what he went through. And I'm so happy that he's talking about it. Here's my conversation with James Blake.
James Blake, thank you so much for being here and coming back to our show. I know we're Zooming, but this still it still counts as you coming here. And a lot of people are happy to see you. And so thank you very much for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again.
Well, I'd like to hear your perspective on what's been going on for the past couple of weeks in this country. I know you have a personal story because I was in New York. I think your incident happened in New York, correct?
Yeah, that was in 2015. I was there for the U.S. Open. I was retired, but I was doing some corporate sponsor appearances and stuff, and I just flown in that morning and was waiting for the car to take me to the Open and just waiting outside my hotel when an officer ran up and just ran into me, slammed me into the wall and threw me on the ground, handcuffed me and had me in custody for about 10 to 15 minutes. Without me doing anything. And I was standing there just getting ready to go to the Open, and they said I looked like a suspect. Turns out the suspect was for a credit card scam they were running. Nothing violent, no reason, in my opinion, to necessarily tackle someone.
I know you've been on the show a few times. I know you outside the show. You're a pretty big guy. I wouldn't think to run into you and try to take you down. I mean,
yeah, I like to think I'm a big guy. I don't know, but for a tennis player at least, but he was a much bigger guy. He was probably about 220. Definitely probably been in the gym a bit, and he was looking to use that force. And
he threw you on the ground, and your head is against the ground, or
he had me down with my face in the pavement, and he put his knee in my back and was cuffing me. And the first thing he said is, shut your mouth, put your arms back. And the first thing I said, because now at this point, within a split second, it goes from I think this is going to be a friendly encounter to I'm on the ground, face in the ground, getting handcuffed. At that point, it's 2015. There were still already plenty of signs in the media, plenty of cases of police violence, of black men and women being killed or harmed by the police. So my first thought is back to the conversation I had with my dad, back to all those incidents. And my first statement was, I'm complying 100%. Whatever you say, I'm complying 100%. Because I know I don't want to be a stat, and everything else can be figured out afterwards. Any legal battles, anything that they're mistaken identity, whatever it is, can be figured out later, but you just comply and it's really a sad situation. It's a sad state of affairs that there has to be that set of rules. And every black man in this country pretty much knows those, that you have to be completely emasculated. You have to do whatever they say. For the next 10 to 15 minutes, they're standing there acting pretty rude and just kind of dismissive of me. They just weren't believing me until someone, luckily, I think they probably Googled me or something, and the guy's looking at his phone and looking at me and saying, I think we maybe made a mistake. And that was it. So it's just really sad.
Did you ever get an apology or anything from the officer?
The officer never apologized. The only thing he said as he let me go was that the person they're looking for is still in the area, which doesn't have any effect on me. I got an apology from de Blasio and an apology from the police commissioner when they realized what had happened, and they realized there was a video out there. But never an apology from him. And in terms of trying to get justice, I tried so hard. I mean, this is why I'm so encouraged right now by today's events, is that I screamed and yelled for 2 years. It took for me to get any sort of a trial, internal trial against this police officer, to try to get any sort of accountability. And all he lost was 5 vacation days for this. And it was his 5th incident. He had 4 others, all against African-American men. One of them, he broke a guy's jaw, and he lost 5 vacation days. And they said that he couldn't be fired because it's just not fair, because the precedent before this for cases like this weren't that strict. And that's where it just needs to be changed. And that's why I'm so encouraged by the fact that more and more people are realizing that this accountability is a joke. It took 2 years of them trying to delay it, trying to make it so that I couldn't be there, making excuse after excuse. And then he still got barely, in my opinion, a slap on the wrist.
What was the first thing you did? Did you call your wife?
Yeah. So I got in the car, called my wife, and being an athlete and someone who wanted to try to be a tough guy, I told her, I told her what happened. She was immediately freaked out. And I just said, you know what, it's no big deal. I'm going to be okay. Nothing, I'm not going to say anything about this. And her first genuine response was just, what if this happened to me? What if this happened to anyone else you loved or cared about? And that's when, it was like a light switch went off my head. I can't stay silent. I can't say nothing. I can't just be a tough guy and say nothing happened to me. So I went to the press later that day, and I'm really happy she said that. I'm really happy I listened to her. I usually, it makes sense. It keeps us married too.
That's smart.
But it just made sense that I had to say something. And then I went to the media, and it opened my eyes to a lot of things. Because if I hadn't gone to the media, I realized that none of those officers filed a report. So nothing would have happened. They never would have said anything. There was any sort of incident, any sort of occurrence. And if I wasn't who I was and had the ability to go to the media, if I'm James Blake, the accountant, going off to my 9 to 5, and I didn't have the wherewithal to get their badge numbers, their names, which I didn't do. And I think of myself as someone pretty calm and collected under pressure. I didn't think to do that. So the only way I was able to do that was going to the media. And so I realized I had to do something that's going to help others in this situation, and not just me, because I'm lucky enough to have the voice that I have.
How do you feel to know that the 4 officers were charged with the murder of George Floyd?
I've been through a pretty big roller coaster of emotions since this happened, as I'm sure a lot of people in the country have, and especially his family. That was my first thought, was sadness for his family and for his friends and other victims. But that night I went to bed just so discouraged and just thinking how sad it was. And when I woke up in the morning, I didn't sleep very much. That's actually when I wrote an op-ed, just because my mind was racing and I wanted to just write something. But I was so encouraged by the fact that people cared. People really in this country have not become totally desensitized. They haven't become numb to this. And to see that the protests happened so quickly, so genuinely, and that they got immediate results. I don't know if those 4 officers would have been charged if it wasn't for the protests, because this has happened so many times. So many other cases have happened like this, where no criminal charges, maybe they get slaps on the wrist, or maybe they get transferred to another precinct, or they lose their job, but then they can get another job at another precinct. But to get criminal charges is huge. And that's a big step in the right direction for accountability. And I think it shows that people caring, and the majority that actually cares in this country, can make a difference when they speak loudly enough. And they can protest right now. That makes a huge difference. I hope the momentum carries on, that they realize they can make a difference right now, and look at what they're doing. They're increasing the accountability, and the next best chance they have for accountability and for helping this country is in November, when they can vote for representatives that can actually speak to what you believe, what you want to happen. And don't get discouraged by what we saw yesterday in voting lines, and bring a book, bring your iPad, bring something to do, because you might be sitting there for a long time, but go out and vote for people that are going to make a difference. We're repealing laws, where the defunding the police is something that sounds scary, but it's more like shifting funds, not defunding, and making it so that it's safer for all of us.
Yeah. James, I'm so thankful that you came on, told your story. Millions of people are going to appreciate this. Thank you for doing this. I'm going to keep continuing to have these, conversations, and anything, hopefully change is going to come from this.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. Thank you for using your show. I mean, I've always been a fan just because it's funny and because you're great. You're an unbelievable talent, but you're also someone that cares and has such a great heart. So thank you for doing this, Jimmy.
You're rock, bud, and hug those kids for me, okay?
Absolutely. Same to you.
Bye, bud.
On and on and on. I said, and it's on and on and on.